Are you ready to unleash your full potential and become unstoppable in your success and leadership?
Welcome to the Unleashed and Unstoppable podcast, where we provide powerful insights and strategies for coaches, corporate leaders, and entrepreneurs. I'm Alexanne Carter.
And I'm Carol Register, and we're certified master neurocoaches who are passionate about helping you overcome your limiting beliefs and optimize your performance.
Each week, we'll be sharing actionable tips and strategies using neuroscience, from interviews with industry experts to solo episodes, to help you lead a life of power, purpose, and possibility on your own terms.
Join our community of like-minded individuals. Hit subscribe now, and let's be unleashed and unstoppable together. Hey, here we are again with you this week, and Alex and I really have some amazing information that's so critical and important for you to know, and we're just going to dive in today. We really want to let you know what's going on from a neuroscience perspective. If you've ever been in a situation where you feel like you're doing all the things and yet you are not getting the results, I have felt that way. Boy, have I ever felt that way. And I know, Alex, what came up for me in those situations was overwhelm, right? And frustration. And, we were just talking, you mentioned something key, feeling like I can't move forward, feeling like I'm going to throw in the towel. I'm giving it up. This is not working. It's meant for everybody else, not meant for me. And then I'm thinking, well, I'm right back where I started. Why did I even start this work? Like nothing, not only isn't nothing getting accomplished, but I'm actively slipping back. And, I'm tired. I'm really tired, and I'm craving the reward of the result that I want to achieve. Have you ever felt that way as well, Alex? I know you have.
Well, and I have, and I've been noticing lately, Carol, that this seems to be a common theme with my clients.
Yes.
And I think that was something that you and I, when we oftentimes before Karen and I start recording, we always lean to like, what are we noticing? What is a common thing that's coming up with our clients so we can speak to you and really help you, one, realize you're not alone. Because I know that was a story. Like I really thought that no one got me. I thought that only this happened to me. And I felt very lonely in this process. And we want to let you know that you're not alone, that there's so many high achieving performers like yourself and leaders out there, just like you, just like myself, just like Carol, just like our clients that are experiencing that. And this is why we're passionate to bring the neuroscience to you and help you understand what is actually going on, because it can be very frustrating. If you feel like you're doing all the work, right? Like you're the good student, right? Like I listen to the teacher, I take all the coaching, I implement, but yet I'm not getting the result that I'm looking for. It is frustrating.
It is. Yeah.
It's disappointing. And
disappointing is a great word. It feels that way. It feels like, what am I not getting right? What am I doing wrong? And then, you may be somebody that looks to blame others for the situation, or you may be blaming yourself and beating yourself up like, I'm not doing it right. And I know that I've experienced both sides of that coin.
Well, when you have a big goal and a big dream, right? And you listen to us every Thursday, week after week, and we talk about like how your success is inevitable, right? And how using the neuroscience process, you can create your dreams, your visions, your goals, whatever it is. And you're out there implementing, right? Neurohacking your success, and you're not getting the results. Like it's disappointing, right? And it does, right, create that question, right, of any self-doubt or any fears that are coming up, right? And it's like, am I meant for this? Like, is this for me? A lot of I'm hearing is like, do I need to go back? Right? I hear, do I need to go back to corporate? Do I need to go back? And, and there's a lot of this like looking back, this safety piece, right? Because yes, our brain's wired to keep us in the safe and familiar, but the brain, right? Like it starts scanning and looking and searching like, what's the next thing? Because clearly the story belief is it's not working.
a couple of things that I'm noticing with clients in this way right now is I want this, and yet not taking the action step in order for that to happen. So there's a huge gap there, right? And saying, yes, I believe, yes, I want this, yes, I'm putting in the work, but what's causing the gap, right? What's happening there? And then the second thing I'm seeing is slipping back into before they started doing the work to really negative or unhealthy places, patterns, events, people, putting themselves with people that are not in alignment with the work that they're doing and the story that they're rewriting, putting themselves in situations that are not healthy, but very familiar. And so, what do we call this, Alex? What's going on here? What does this really mean for us when we find ourselves in this situation where we're not getting the results that we're going for?
Well, I mean, sort of the word that was coming to mind, and I think it's also like for me, it's one of the other things that I noticed is the self-sabotage,
Yeah. Oh, yes.
right? It's the self-sabotage.
Yeah.
Remember, your
Yeah.
brain's wired to keep in the same familiar. And so your brain is always going to look for that safety. It's always going to look for the familiarity. Oh my goodness. Oh my God, I can say that word.
Familiarity. Yeah, I hear
What's
you.
familiar, right?
Yeah.
Even though it doesn't serve you, even
Yeah.
though it's not maybe what you really want,
Mm-mm.
but that's what it knows as safe. And so sure, the days that seem harder, the
Yeah.
days that do seem more challenging, the days that are more frustrating or where you feel overwhelmed, where it's not going the way that you imagined. Like that's part of the process. And I know that's probably not what you want to hear me say, but it really is, right? Like it's, actually we're at a Remembrance Day ceremony this past week. And one of the speakers spoke into something that really landed for me because especially working with so many leaders, right? And really how they're creating big visions and big
Yeah.
dreams and goals is that the the path, like oftentimes again, our brains are going to look for the path of least resistance.
Yeah.
And then the story, what they were sharing about how the soldiers took the path that didn't look like the safest path, but yet it was that path that actually got them to safety. But it's just how it's the deception of what it looks like. But it's
Yes.
funny, like it has how it happens to the brain, right? Like you
Yeah.
might think that this path, even though it looks easier, is the way to go, but actually that was the unsafest path. Now you wouldn't have known that until you took the path, and it was the path that looked maybe the most dangerous that actually ended up being the path that got to the result like more easily and faster. And I know this is probably not exactly quite the story, but that's what I
Well,
was hearing through this, right?
I think it's a
So much of
relative point. Yeah. Because, it's addressing the fact that when we're on our way to our results and we are doing the work, that circumstances can cause us to feel clouded or like we're not on the right path.
yeah,
And that's really what that addresses, because the path that didn't look like the easier path or the better path, if you will, it was the more dangerous path, was actually the one that led them to safety. And that's like for me is looking at the circumstances surrounding me and going, no, 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 this is not working. Being able to understand that circumstances are often an illusion, right? And being able
yeah,
to walk through the big boulder that appears in our path. And I love that because you and I have a colleague named Sarah that used to talk about that. She'd talk about she'd be on a path and there'd be this huge boulder in the path, and she'd be walking up to the boulder and going, how in the world am I ever going to get around this? This obstacle is way too huge. And why am I even doing this? That's it. I'm just throwing in the towel. But the closer and closer she got to the boulder, it turned out to be an illusion. And she literally was able to walk right straight through it. It was as if it was a cloud. It was simply a cloud. And how often we let circumstances determine whether we're going to move forward. And really, the key that we want to give you today is that when you are doing the work, what you are going to face is brain resistance. As you just mentioned, Alex, our brains are wired for safety. They are not wired for success. And we're here stepping in and taking action to rewrite our story, to write our success. And those obstacles appear like, no, you can't really have it. This has happened, that's happened, the other thing that's happened. Well, that brain resistance is an important and key part of the work you're doing. And there are absolutely solutions, because in the neuroscience work that we do, we know for a fact, we can see in the brain mapping that this is a proven process. You literally can remove old neural networks of limiting beliefs and wire in new ones. And we've had massive results, not only in our own lives, but with our clients in doing this. Removing negative family patterns, removing shame and guilt in their lives, being able to understand their identity and step into creating a whole new reality, one of abundance, one of income earning, one of being able to speak on large stages, one of being able to write books, one of having marriages. I mean, the results have been enormous. So it's really, we're calling it out right here and right now. It's called brain resistance. And, what have you seen in terms of being able to move into out of the brain? Oh, well, first I want to say this: brain resistance can show up in a myriad of ways, not only in the obstacles and the circumstances, but I've had a client recently who's been experiencing nightmares. That's a common form of brain resistance, believe it or not. Fatigue, headaches, having unexplained headaches, carrying the tension in your shoulders and your neck and your body, and staying kind of clenched as you're doing the work. I've found myself in that situation. How else have you seen brain resistance show up, Alex?
I think like in the body, like, and that's like the experience of it, right? All of a sudden, like, it feels like nothing's working, right? It's like, what is happening? Like, everything was great, and all of a sudden nothing is working, right?
Like you said, feeling alone.
I mean, I know that was kind of like sort of my story. And something else, Carol, as we were speaking into brain resistance, something else I was reminded of, because I know that here's the thing: when you start to do this work, we talk about like new level and devil, right? We talk about it's an onion. We're an onion. We peel it back, and there's another layer, there's another layer. Oftentimes when we're working with our clients and they do have this story that, why is it so hard? Why is it not working? Two things could be happening. One, there's this messy middle that happens through this process between days, was like 21 and 40, something like that. So a question we often ask clients is like, okay, where are we at in terms of the brain priming, the work, the process? Because that'll often give us an indication that you're experiencing this cognitive dissonance, right? Where obviously the primary neural pathway is much stronger than the other one. So you're experiencing that tug-of-war.
Yeah.
The second thing that often comes out in this moment is another subconscious belief that things need to be hard to be successful.
Yes.
What's so powerful with the work you do, going back to like your experiences from 0 to 7, looking at the story. What were the stories, and what did you experience, and what did you see around you? I know we didn't, Carol and I have to talk about like, where we want to go and the talking points. And I know we didn't mention this before we started recording. It wasn't until you started talking, I was like, oh my goodness, how many times have we seen that with our clients, where the frustration comes up and this thing of it's not working. It's that, right? It's that it's hard, right? It's like, okay, you said it's supposed to be easy. And yes, in theory, it actually is a very easy, simple process.
Yeah.
However, if you have like you've got that subconscious belief that it that it's got to be hard and life is hard, or that you got to work hard. Well, that's another thought belief that you get to work through.
It's
So,
so true.
and then you've got the negativity bias, right?
Yeah.
Our brains are wired to be 9 times more negative. And so even as you're doing the work, even as Carol and I, as your coaches, are seeing you making progress, you're not seeing that. You don't see the progress you're making.
No.
You're only focused on that end goal. And it's like, and I mean, you're a high achiever. So let's be honest, you probably want the result yesterday, right? So it's
Yeah.
like, it's not working fast enough for me to get the result that I want. And this is where, we want to lean into and invite you, like, you got
Yeah.
to look at what's working.
And it's hitting that uncomfortable zone,
Yeah.
exactly what you were saying. Like when we come up against that discomfort, man, I've experienced that so many times where I was literally just going through the motions and
Yeah.
I wasn't in a place where I was remembering that this is resistance. And so I experience it now with my clients, and they're like, when that frustration comes up and this isn't working, I'm not getting the result. No, this is the point where you lean in. You are
Yeah.
exactly where you are supposed to be. What you're doing is working. And this is a huge sign of it because your brain is going to try to keep you back in the familiar of whatever's wired into your subconscious. And like you said, that tug-of-war, right? That push and pull, you've got this old neural network that's been well established. And, after about day 21, you've got a new neural network built, but this old neural network is still over here, and your brain's giving you neurochemicals, neurotransmitters to take you back into what's familiar because that is what the brain sees as safety. And thank goodness the brain's protecting our beautiful subconscious system. We get to work with our brains. And so as we continue to wire in that new neural network, if we stay consistent with doing the work, even when we're uncomfortable, even when we're experiencing the lack of results, the brain resistance, this is where we give this old network the ability to get weaker and shakier and eventually break away, right? And then we've got the new default zone of the success matrix that we're wanting to have and live in, that we're wanting to experience the rewriting of our story. And so we wanted you to know today, if this is going on for you, you're doing the exact right thing. You're in the right place. And we highly recommend that you work with us, that you get with a guide who can help you to recognize what's going on and all of the tools that you'll have, a full tool belt to work through this and move forward so that you are very, very shortly experiencing those amazing results that you're wanting to have. This is an absolutely proven process. And that's the part that keeps me fired up. And when I talk about it, I'm like, I can keep using this in my own life, right? And I know that you're using it every day in your life as well, Alex.
And I love how this episode is very timely. We're heading into the holiday season, and this is going to be
Yeah.
right before, for those of you that celebrate Christmas, around Christmas. And it's also a very common time of year when, right, that you're looking over your year, right?
Yeah.
Looking at maybe some of your goals, maybe some of the things you achieved, you didn't achieve. And it's really easy, we get it, as a high performer, to go in and look right away at, like, this is what didn't work, right? It's like, I'm
Yeah.
not getting these results, I'm not getting this success. And we're inviting you to really acknowledge yourself for what did work. Because
Yes.
I guarantee you, you're not where you were back on January 1st, right? You're not where you were a year ago. You're in a
Mm.
new place and you get to acknowledge yourself. You get to see and celebrate what your growth is. I know I love going through my phone at this time of year and
Yeah.
scanning through photos because, again, we don't remember all the things we've experienced. We don't remember. And I love, like, a lot of the social media platforms, like, will do like their year in review, right?
Mm.
And I think it's beautiful because it supports our brain seeing the examples, seeing the evidence
Yeah.
of, like, wow, this is what I created this year. This is what I accomplished, right?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe you didn't get that thing, but look at everything else. Look
Yeah.
at the person you've become along the way. to create that. I was listening to one of the Mind Valley quests a couple weeks ago, and I remember part of the invitation was to set goals that maybe 50% of them you would never be able to achieve.
That's
because
right.
it's who you become in the process,
Mhm.
right? And that's, I think, what we want to celebrate here today. We want to acknowledge you for you showing up, for being a listener, for tuning in, for doing the work, for taking yourself on, and really getting to acknowledge yourself and celebrate you at this time of year. Because guarantee you haven't wasted a minute, right?
No, not at all.
There's so much to celebrate. There's so much to acknowledge.
Yeah.
And just lean into curiosity, right? Like what worked, what maybe didn't work, right? And where do you get to go, right? Noticing some of those patterns that may continue to appear. And make a commitment, work with Carol and myself, and look at 2025 with a different outlook. And it's the time, right, that you do finally get to identify, neutralize, erase, and replace those thoughts that are not working for you in the success that you want to create. And just be ready and open to what 2025 has for you. Side of all of this, right?
Celebrating the breakdown, the breakthrough is right there. Such a beautiful episode. Thank you so much for being here with us today. We love having you. We love sharing this information, these tools, this process with you, because we all deserve to live our very best lives. And when we live our best lives, when we become unleashed and unstoppable, we enable all those around us to do the same, and we impact the greater world. And thank you for being here and taking a stand with us. We can't wait to see you next week. So ciao for now.
Happy holidays. Bye.
Happy holidays.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Unleashed Unstoppable podcast with your hosts, Alexandra Carter and Carol Register.
If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review, and subscribe.
That's all for this episode, Wildly Ambitious Leaders. See you next week.